The New York Knicks finally do what they're supposed to do against a bad team. We're going to tell you how they got it done.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Gavin, Schall, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster, and of course, the Saturday host of the Locked On NBA podcast. He's Alex Wolfe, editor-in-chief of the Strickland, the greatest Knicks website in the whole wide world. You can check them out on all forms of social media at thestrick.land. Of course, you're listening to Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving you the most detailed insight on your favorite team 5 whole days a week, sometimes more. And be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans in subscribing on both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform of choice for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. We want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And then on your way home, you can read the new Locked On Knicks newsletter. That's right. We're introducing the one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. It's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. Get ready from Alex and I, our team of national writers here at Locked On. And of course, Josh Lloyd helping you. He's helping me right now. I'm rolling in the semifinals, win your fantasy basketball championship. But Alex, it's been a steady climb for this team. They got blown out by two of the worst teams in the league. They survived a team nearly another one of the worst teams in the NBA, nearly erasing a 33-point lead, partially because they chose to pull their best players. Thanks, Marcus Smart. And then tonight, they progressed to a fairly comfortable win after a bad defensive first half against a team that should be very good, but decided to trade away their generational Slovenian talent and have their other 7 best players get hurt in what seems like a curse. I don't know. But we are talking the Mavs having no answer for Karl-Anthony Towns, OG's second half takeover, record-setting triple-doubles for both Kat and Josh Hart, and Tyler Kolek flashing again. I'll leave it to you. Where do we start this journey through the Knicks' first really good win in a little bit?
I mean, I guess first we could shout out the 2 records or noteworthy things in this game. So Karl-Anthony Towns with 26 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, gets a triple-double. Josh Hart also 16 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. The 12 and 11 is kind of crazy that they both got that for their triple-doubles. And also both with 6s on the end of their point totals. Weird. But first pair of Knicks teammates in history to both get triple-doubles in the same game. So that was cool. And then Josh Hart sets the triple-double record, takes that from Clyde for single season. He's also, I don't know exactly how close he is to the career one, but he's definitely threatening to get there sooner than later for Knicks career triple-doubles. So props to Josh Hart for that.
Can I just say, Alex, did you love that Clyde on the broadcast slipped in? Only took 50 years to beat it. Like which I don't think was him being salty because he loves Josh Hart, but I just thought that was funny. Like some of the competitiveness is still in there.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, he even said at one point at the very end, I think maybe it was when Josh Hart grabbed the ball when it looked like he was gonna keep it for himself as like a memento for the game. I think Clyde slipped in another one of like, yeah, I'm happy for him, but whatever. I'm not happy about my 50-year record getting broken.
He was in rare form tonight. He was really good.
I love Clyde. He's so fun. I mean, him and Breen is just it's a treat. I mean, Clyde also just turned 82, which is crazy. So shout out to Clyde. Happy birthday to him. I think a little belated. I think it was last week, but either way, I mean, this game. Before we get into the individual players and whatever, the overall way that this game went is sort of what we were begging for in some of those other games, like the 2 games that they lost, where it was just like, yeah, okay, they kind of messed around in the first half and, to so to speak, they effed around, but they did not find out, thankfully. They kind of, la-di-da through the first half. Najee Marshall had like an out-of-body experience, which was a little concerning. It felt a lot like the Mamu Spurs thing for a minute, where it was just like, is this guy just gonna go for like 50 points for no good reason? Like, this is crazy. But luckily he wasn't quite as rambunctious in the second half as he was in the first half. But then the second half they just kind of came out and said, no, we're the good team here. You guys are the bad team. I mean, it probably helped their case that I'm sure the Mavericks every single game right now are just exhausted by the time halfway through the third quarter comes around, thanks to the fact that they're running such a short rotation right now from having so many guys out. Although I guess they did play 9 guys in this game, so they managed to put something together. But either way, just the Knicks just kind of did what the good team should do and just said, no, okay, we're going to play defense. We're going to, blow you guys out of the water. They were up double digits by the end of the third quarter after going into halftime tied, which was annoying. The tied part, not the going up by double digits part, but then they just continued to smoke them in the fourth quarter and even managed to buy themselves like 4 minutes of garbage time. So that was cool too. You love seeing that. So yeah, I thought this was great. I mean, there was a lot of good play up and down the roster. Like all the starters, I think, did well. All things considered. I mean, Campaign a little more quiet statistically than he was the other day, but certainly did the same type of stuff where he was, keeping the offense moving and got this whatever. And then like Kolek off the bench was great. Landry Shamet was solid off the bench. Like it was a real Kevin McCullough Jr. gets his first basket. Jalen Brunson first game back on the bench. Like this was kind of just the ultimate feel good beatdown of a bad team. I very much enjoyed this game.
Yeah, it was a great vibes night, even though I was a little frustrated watching the defense in the first half. The way Tyler Kolek played was the cherry on top, and 10 assists in 19 minutes. He now has 17 assists to 0 turnovers and 37 minutes of total action, but we'll hit him later. Kevin McCullough Jr., his first NBA bucket on his first shot. Karl-Anthony Towns was also his first ever Knick triple-double. I think you nailed it in that it was a get right game. I think I'm torn on whether to start with OG. 35 and 38 minutes is insane, but I'm going to start with screw it. I will start with OG Anunoby because I thought him and Josh Hart together kind of turned this game on its head in the second half, where again, like the Knicks were just giving up as much as they were getting, and some of that was Najee just like he went whatever was like 8 for 8 on floaters. Seemingly, he made 11 of his first 12 shots at 23 points in 15 minutes. He actually tied a record for most field goals in a half against the Knicks, which is crazy given some of like Steph and Kobe, like some of the crazy performances in MSG. That's only since 1996, but still that was a wild stat. Anywho, the way the Knicks just ramped up their defensive pressure in the second half, and like I'll almost start that with Josh Hart over anyone. Like my note for him at halftime was, is the knee still bothering him? This felt like the fourth game in a row, at least 3rd out of 4, where like you just don't see him getting a rebound, pushing in transition, or flying in for offensive rebounds. And then he just like totally shifted the tenor of this game in the second half. Like he made like coast to coast layup after 2 turnovers to finish the first half. Then Mikal hit a pull-up 2 off of a Hart push, like very first play of the second, had another steal, hit ahead to OG Anunoby for a jam. Next play, OG had a really nice contest, got the rebound to Cat, and then Cat had a hit ahead to Hart up to Mikal for a right wing 3 that capped off a 17-5 run to start the second half. One more crazy play. This was like early 4th or late 3rd, where the ball was tipped past midcourt and Mikal Bridges saved it to Cat, and Cat just zipped it like 40 feet on a line. Like Cat's passing was amazing all night with guys going back door, but that was the best one. 40 feet on a line to Hart, and OG just over and over again. I mean, everything for him, Alex, in the second half was basically like in transition, like poke away for a jam, transition corner 3, then another fast break jam. And there was like a point where OG was just like a shark smelling blood in the water. Like he saw Christie doubled, falling out of bounds, and Powell was the only outlet. So he just shot in, tipped the ball away, ran it down after Cat like threw an outlet ahead to him, and then he made a layup as he fell down, had another Euro step between 2 defenders. Like just like the way they were able to like turn Dallas over and get out and run, like that was the ball game. And it felt like, to your point, that was them saying like, all right, we're just better than you, and kind of laying it all on the table, as it were.
Yeah, it was nice to see OG kind of get back to the, like put a cherry on top of like the recent renaissance again. Like we saw him kind of fall off a little bit in like the Miami game, the San Antonio game, and then he had the point total against Charlotte, but like the efficiency wasn't quite there. And then these last 2 games, he's kind of gotten right back to where he left off, which, take the quality of opponent into consideration if you want, but like domination is domination. Like I like to see him go out there and just like physically impose his will, like getting inside, just dunking over dudes, getting out in transition, using the wingspan, getting the steals. I mean, the one that stood out to me was just one of those, like, it felt like early Dagger-esque. I think it was like towards the end of the third quarter when he just got the strip steal, easy rundown for a dunk. It's just like those plays are just such backbreakers, especially if you're facing a young team that's like where turnovers can stack up quickly and like mistakes can weigh on you more heavily as like a younger team. I felt like he did a really good job of forcing the issue, and that one was just one of those steals that just kind of feels like a game buster. If it was like NBA Street or whatever, or Game Breaker, was that what they used to be called?
Yeah. Where you
Yeah.
like the ball goes on fire and then you
Right.
Oh, that's NBA. I'm thinking NBA Jam.
That's NBA Jam.
NBA Street. It has like the slow mo cutscene where you do like the 720 dunk.
Yes,
Usually.
NBA Jam had that. NBA Street used to have, they called them game breakers, which was like
Yeah.
you would bust out like a crazy like crossover move or whatever, and then that would open you up to go in and like dunk on someone and like break the backboard or whatever. It was a fun thing.
Those are so cool. Like the second the screen slows down, you're like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, basketball games used to be so much more fun. Take note, game developers. Take note, 2K.
Sorry,
write
to viewers who missed
yeah.
out. Yeah.
I'll write to former host James Marcita and see if he can green light a new NBA Street game at 2K Games. We'll figure it out. I think they tried it. It was terrible, but they can make another one. We'll figure it out. Anyway, before we get too far off the rails, we still got to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns and how dominant he was in the first half. We talk about Josh Hart, and I thought this was kind of a nice return to form for him to get back to his triple-double ways. Talk about Tyler Kolek and some great minutes off the bench where he almost had 10 assists in this one, which would have set more history had he hit it. But couldn't quite get there. But yeah, anyway, we're getting into all that next on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to let you know about our friends over at Game Time. And there's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever because Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. And I love the easy ticket shopping aspect of the Game Time app. You can check it and see amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up. But the best part is they're very kind to last minute shoppers. So you go on Game Time like a couple hours before the game, maybe you just decide like, yeah, know what? I want to go see the Knicks at the Garden. Let's do it before the playoffs, before the prices go through the roof when the playoffs hit. Perfect place to do it is Game Time. They have all kinds of great deals right up until tip-off, so it's fantastic for that. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, and we're back in to keep talking through this big Knicks win, 128-113 over Dallas. Nice, dominant second half, just what the doctor ordered. A little bit of rest for the starters. A great game all around. Gavin, I'll leave it to you. Where do you want to visit next? Do you want to head to Karl-Anthony Towns, or do you want to go to the Josh Hart Express? What are you feeling next as we continue on here?
Yeah, I touched on Josh a little, so we can talk Cat. I'm curious what you thought about his night, because obviously the passing is what stands out. I mean, he had 10 points and 5 assists in literally the first 6 minutes of this game, and like the way the Knicks were moving off ball made life easy on him. The fact that Dallas was starting Kai Jones at center because they have 3 really, really good centers in Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, and Derek Lively, and they're all hurt. They have a power forward who would probably give him a pretty good fight in PJ Washington. He's also hurt. So it was Kai Jones who was like off. Well, he was on the Clippers. Maybe I don't know if he's out of the NBA, but he's been out of the NBA. He's played in China or somewhere in Asia. I'm losing the train here. The point is, Cat should dominate this team, and he did. Like whether it was like zipping passes back door, catch and shoot threes, like pumping goes for dunks. Like it just felt like he could kind of do whatever he wanted against this team.
Yeah, and it's nice seeing that from him again. It's like I feel like the intensity on both ends was back again in this game, which has not always been a constant lately. Like I feel like with Hart, he's been more passive on offense again and less, just giving less activity on defense. And, to get the 2 steals in this one. I mean, the Knicks did like a really good job. 9 steals in this game is a pretty solid number for them. I know that sometimes, certain players, especially if they had like Deuce McBride or something in the game, like sometimes a single player can get you like 3 or 4 on this particular team. But to see like Anunoby with 2, Hart with 2, Cat with a steal, Campaign with 2 steals, Precious with 2 steals, like everybody was just getting their hands in passing lanes more, especially in that third quarter when they kind of just like put their foot on the gas. And I thought the Hart was a large part of that, like just back to his old tricks, getting out in transition, like getting all the way to the cup, being super efficient. When he hits 2 of 2 threes, that obviously helps too. And that's obviously not always a constant with him, but I love seeing it from him. I like that it's kind of a return to form for Hart, and hopefully that's more what we see going forward as we get towards the playoffs. Obviously, we've seen he is definitely like a playoff riser. Mm-hmm. So we're getting to that point where the late season run is probably about to kick in, and then hopefully the playoff run. So they're certainly going to need it from him once Jalen Brunson gets back and they can get back to full health and hopefully put together a solid postseason run. Karl-Anthony Towns too, though, fantastic first half. I think he had 21 of his 26 in the first half, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I can double check. I feel like he had something like insane. Like it was like 24, 7, and 7. I'm gonna look, but keep
NBA Stats typically has this available by now, but they're a little slow on the uptake today with the quarter by quarter stats and the half by half.
I cannot check. That's where I was gonna go. So
yep. So thanks NBA Stats, and normally on top of it, but not today. But at any rate, ends up shooting 10 of 19, only 2 of 7 from 3 and 4 of 8 from the free throw line. But you don't really care when he gets a triple double. What was great, I thought, was that in the first half he kind of just asserted his will on offense and was just dominating on the inside. To your point, like poor like Kai Jones and guys like that, like just nobody could compete with Cat in this game on the inside. And then I liked that in the second half he weaponized that and the attention that he was then getting to just find guys with his passing, and had a number of really nice assists that way, but not just from like positions of power on the inside or whatever. But one that stood out to me was I want to say it was like a busted play. I'm pretty sure it was the one where Mikal had to like jump into the backcourt and toss it back, and then Cat caught it like just past the half court line, and then just like eyes up. Hart, to his credit, makes a really smart cut to get to the inside, and then Cat just like one hand rifles one into him, like perfectly into his hands, like a wide receiver, and Hart gets a nice easy layup out of it. So that was probably my favorite Cat pass of the game, and what has to be close to his career high in assists. I can't imagine he's gone 10 plus all that many times in his career.
But by the way, he did have 24, 7, and 7 in the first half. So he kind of shut it down after halftime. He was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Just he did start playing a lot more defense in the second half, but
which is great too. Yeah, you love to see that. So yeah, all in all, fantastic game for Cat. I thought. I don't know what were your thoughts on him?
Yeah, well, I guess I kind of went over it already, but yeah, he was exceptional passing the basketball. I did think I'll note the like him in drop in the first half was like Charmin, like and look, Dallas made some tough shots, like give like Najee Marshall, like this is anomalous in that it was a career high for him. It's not so insane in the sense that I know this because he's on both my fantasy basketball teams, and it was like my pickup of the year. Like he has been really, really hooping, and this is again a zoom out, but like it is the ultimate irony of the Luka Doncic trade and the fallout of it was that Nico Mannion, I think, built just about a perfect roster around Luka Doncic. When you look at like Kyrie to like the bigs they had with PJ, Daniel, and Lively, and in the wings with like Grimes. I mean, Clay's obviously a little bit washed, but Grimes, Clay, Najee, this whole team is like just perfectly built for Luka Doncic to go win an NBA championship round, and then they trade him. So shout out to the Mavs, man. Just making mistakes that help the NBA's elites in the Knicks and the Lakers. But yeah, Cat was exceptional offensively. I thought his drop defense was abysmal in the first half, and Dallas was getting like just easy layup after easy layup, and it was not all on Cat. Like there were just a bunch of different breakdowns across the board. But Cat had a few brain farts. Like there was one play where OG thought he was passing off Kai Jones to Cat, which made sense because on the previous possession, that's who Cat was guarding. And Cat just inexplicably like drifts over to the opposite wing to double team Najee Marshall. And that was the play where Kai Jones got like the wide open dunk and everyone was there. I was really confused why they weren't just switching, because then you're basically daring like Dwight Powell to post up a smaller player or Spencer Dinwiddie to go at Cat. And like maybe that works. But the point is like they were just getting anything they wanted in pick and roll. Like Precious Achiuwa also had a Space Cadet moment where he dropped into the paint for no reason. That led to a wide open Brandon Williams three. Like Hart got lost like at one point. Like it was just hit. Mikal and Payne had a play where they got confused on whether they were switching or not and conceded a wide open three for Dinwiddie. Like just a lot of mistakes. And I'd have to go back and watch to confirm this, but I think they switched in the second half to starting to use Cat hedging and recovering or just straight up switching on some plays. And I think that was I'm sure on top of like a firm talking to like part of the shift in the second half where the activity level got much higher and they just kind of took over on that end of the floor.
Yep. And we've still got quite a bit to talk about, even with the Stars mostly taken care of. Although Mikal Bridges had a pretty nice game again and had a little help from, I believe, Tyler Kolek on a number of those assists once again. So we'll talk about Tyler Kolek as well, who ended with 9 assists, most of which came in the second half and bordering on garbage time. But we won't acknowledge that. We'll just talk about how good of a game it was for him. So lots more to talk about before we close out next on Locked On Knicks. So Gavin, Tyler Kolek is starting to make a little bit. Okay. I struggle to say make a case for himself for like real playing time, but maybe making a case for himself to be taken seriously for playing time next year, this summer, if the Knicks have to make some difficult decisions about other players on the team or whatever, because I'm starting to really like what I'm seeing from him. I think it's clear that the G League minutes have been beneficial to him. And, just getting playing time, it seems like his, earlier in the season, I know a lot of it was like ultra garbage time at certain times and whatever. And, it's tough to kind of get a read on stuff like that. But there were certain times earlier in the season where it seemed like the game hadn't quite slowed down for him yet at the NBA level. Like we knew that the passing was good and whatever, but it just seemed like he was just a off by like a beat, and it was leading to turnovers, even in garbage time or whatever. Like he would be trying to like dribble drive and kick out for a three or whatever. And it just seemed like everything was like not quite processing at the speed you need it yet. And that doesn't seem to really be the issue anymore. I mean, his first half was so, but the second half, I thought that he looked really good. The passing was crisp again. It reminded me of the other day, and almost gets 10 assists. That would have, while we're talking about potential records or, notable things, if the Knicks had gotten, I think I saw this, 3 players with 10 plus assists in the same game, I think that wouldn't have just been the first time in team history, but might have actually been the first time in NBA history that had ever happened. If Kolek was able to pull off one more assist. So blame someone who missed a Kolek pass late in this game for not letting that little bit of history happen. But all in all, I thought that he managed the game well going down the stretch. Obviously played a lot of minutes. He played the most minutes of his NBA career so far, 19 minutes and 22 seconds. A lot of that was kind of just managing the game down the stretch of a blowout. But all in all, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of him, and I'm having less defensive concerns than I thought I would. Even had one play in this game where the Knicks were kind of like locking up on defense. I think it was like early fourth quarter where I forget who it was that they funneled in, but they like funneled the Mavericks player in.
It was Clay, if it's the play I'm thinking of.
Where he gets the block, right? Was that
Clay? Kolek blocked him from behind. It was Clay.
Right.
Yeah.
So they funnel Clay in, and then it looked like Clay had his defender beat. Again, I'm struggling. I think it was it Shamit? Yeah. And it looked like he had Shamit beat, and then Kolek just comes out of nowhere and just like gets a nice like from behind help block, swipes it, and then gets out in transition. I thought that was a great play from him. Like he sort of reminds me of like Brunson in a way, which I know we've been saying since like summer league, but he's never going to win, defensive player of the year or make an all defensive team. But I can see an outline of a guy who is at least like not a negative on defense and could be like closer to a net neutral than a negative, which could be all you need out of him because it's clear that the offensive skills are pretty solid.
Yeah, I noticed the same stuff. I'm totally with you. By the way, just before we move on from the assist point, I looked it up. Cat's 11 assists, tied a career high. So yet another record. It just takes playing a team missing half the roster to set all these records. But the Knicks also had about 20 assists before their first turnover in this game, which Breen mentioned that. I thought that was just a crazy stat. But yeah, Kolek was amazing again. I'll start off on the defensive end because that wasn't even like his only good play. Like he drew an offensive foul fighting over a screen. He had this great closeout after, I forgot exactly what happened. Might have been Najee, but someone in Dallas basically broke down the Knicks defense. They drew a double, and Kolek had like a cross-court rotation sprint out. And if Dinwiddie had seen him coming, so this was a rare time where Tyler Kolek, being quite short by NBA standards, was in his favor, probably pumps him like straight into the crowd and then hits a three. But Dinwiddie was already going up, and Kolek just like ran full speed, got a hand on it. He committed a foul trying to defend Dinwiddie shooting a three in the first half. So he learned his lesson, kind of like a sideways closeout, and Dinwiddie got called for an up and down on it. So he was hustling his what off. I think the only difference between him and Brunson is that Brunson is just stockier and stronger. So some guards will be able to just like post up and bully Kolek in a way you can't really with Brunson. But to your point, like effort and IQ go a really, really long way, even in the NBA. And if he can just be like bad versus like early career Trae Young, like I think that makes him a playable guy, because I'll reiterate what I said yesterday. I think we are looking at someone who is already one of the best passers in the NBA. I don't want to say full stop because you have to include the context that it was against Washington and whatever Dallas's G League team is. But like he is just brilliant creating shots for people. Like early on that pick and roll with Cat were too stuck on him, and he just changes platforms and zips a laser to Cat for a slam. Had like another really fun one with Precious Achua where it was like a fake DHO then into a pick and roll, and then Precious rolled right and Kolek was driving left, and Kolek just kind of does like a slow step. And that is like the key to being a pick and roll creator as a point guard, is the ability to keep the two defenders engaged to allow your big to get free. He did that with the slow step, hook pass over the top. And he has just like such an innate sense for like pace and when to pass and like how to throw it from different platforms with one hand, two hand, like spin rate, like placement, like everything you look for in a passer outside of being tall. Like he pretty much has. And also had like a really nice layup over Dwight Powell, which, Alex, is something you and I were both like raving about during summer league. Like just his ability around the basket to vary release points, like has really good touch off the glass. Like I still think he's a long way to go as a scorer. Like he hasn't shot the ball well in either of these games, but I'll reiterate, like I think the Knicks really, really have something in this kid. And I continue to be excited to see what he can do, because it's obvious, again, that like NBA spacing and talent like only makes him more dangerous, even compared to how good he was in college.
Yeah. And I mean, as a guy who's a little undersized and, clearly has some tools there to score at an NBA level, kind of no better guy to be on a team with than Jalen Brunson, who could teach him the ways of footwork and,
Great point.
how to create space as a guy that size in the NBA, who doesn't have a spectacular wingspan, doesn't have spectacular height for his position, like anything like that, but has guile and, the ability and certainly the work ethic to get better, which I think we've seen, just from where Kolek looked in limited minutes earlier in the season to where he looks now. It's clear he's been putting in a lot of work to getting better and seeing the game and learning the game more at the NBA level, which I think also just, I mean, you can see obviously they're short on, point guard type guys right now. So that's why he's kind of stepped into this, but he has been the guy that Tibbs has, brought in to extend the rotation, which says something. There is like DeLon Wright on the roster, for example, who, is a longtime NBA point guard who, in theory would be a Tibbs type dude to throw out there for some emergency sop up minutes. But, instead he's got Kolek out there doing it, and he's doing a pretty good job. Not to bury Mikal Bridges any further, considering he had 21 points, but I did want to quickly just shout out Kevin McCullough while we're speaking about Summer League and stuff. The guy who didn't get to do Summer League because he was hurt gets his first bucket in this game. Also, we got to see like a whole 3 minutes of him playing. He just got called up from Westchester, where he's been like absolutely tearing it up. I think he's had like 3 or 4 triple doubles down there already, and is looking very Josh Hart-esque, which is what we kind of all hoped from him. He looked a little uncomfortable because it was his first NBA action, but looked a little Josh Hart-esque at times, in these couple minutes. They didn't really give him the ball a ton to handle, but that's something that I would imagine that, if they get some more blowouts, hopefully in the next couple weeks before the end of the season, that they might try to get him out there and let him handle the ball a little bit and see what he can do at the NBA level. But his first attempt, he makes his first basket in the NBA. That was a nice little shot. He got inside, a little pump fake to get his defender off balance, and then adjusted in air to get around another defender who was closing in. Managed to just go up for a nice, easy, well, not easy, but he certainly had to work for it, but a made it look easy layup inside. So limited couple minutes we got out of McCullough, I really enjoyed, but I'll throw it to you to talk Mikal a little bit before we kind of close things out here.
Yeah, I felt like, for someone who I've just like I've been out on college basketball last few years, so I didn't watch a ton of him at Kansas, but for someone like I've never really seen play before, like I felt a weird attachment where I was like, just because I can't imagine how frustrating it must be to be like hurt essentially your whole rookie year. So it was just a cool moment. It's cool to see Pacone back on the floor. It was cool to see Kolek like closing out a game like it was summer league. That was really fun. But Mikal, just like a brilliant off the ball game for him, which we saw earlier this season. And again, like I'll caveat it with like the Mavs defense was abysmal. So that made it look really good. But I thought the Knicks ran some cool sets for him. Like they had one where he like screened for Cam off the ball and the defender was watching Cam. So it was almost like how you would finish off a Spain pick and roll, where he just bailed out of the screen and rolled off the ball. And then Cat was top of the key and just hit him back door. Had another one where he, again, don't know if this was intentional, but he like curled off an OG post up and Cat hit him for a short fader. It was a really quiet first half overall, but then he hit those 2 jumpers in the first half and then started getting going in transition, like had that swat on Dinwiddie, had the really nice and one off the inbound where like Cat threw it into him and he just had a hard dribble, like one step banker. Like he feels like he's shooting 85% when he gets the ball off the inbound. That is a completely unofficial made up stat, but that's what it feels like. And then had another dunk cutting off Cat late. Like it was just a good off ball game. I thought his defense in the first half left a little something to be desired. And then like everyone else picked up in the second. I just want to shout out Campaign, took 2 charges and had another steal in this game. Whenever they cut to him because he was mic'd up, was very fun. And then Precious Achiuwa had like some of his like highest highs of the last few weeks and also some insane lows, like was throwing out some crazy post moves on Klay Thompson that inspired me to write Precious Olajuwon ? In my notes. Also made a pass to Shaman in transition, which I didn't know he was capable of doing after he just completely looked off Josh Hart wide open the other day. And then in the second half, he like dribbles it off his foot, misses Payne on the wing in transition to like try to go one-on-one and just has like the ugliest attempt at a Euro lay you'll see. And then 2 plays later, he was making a really nice layup. So I don't know what to make of Precious Achiuwa. I'm ready for someone else to take his minutes, but credit to Precious for bouncing back to some extent.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'll just give Campaign one last shout out. Being mic'd up, just a sheer amount of nonsense that happened with him being mic'd up. In the beginning of the show, they were showing him during warmups, and it's just you could have just put like various noises as the closed captioning. It's just him going like like just freaking making noises everywhere. It was crazy. And then at one point he like grabbed the mic and started talking into it and was like addressing his mom, who was sitting at home. It was like, "Hey mom, I'm mic'd up again. Like, just want to say hi. Like, they won't let me talk to Josh, whatever." Because I assume there would be too many profanities exchanged or something to make it on TV. I don't know what the deal was there, but hilarious. A great performance by Campaign. He's a hilarious personality. I like how.
Let me throw out real quick. If you want me to be attached to you as an athlete, anyone who says their own name a lot, like, "Come on, Cam, be faster, Cam. You got to hit that Payne. You got to hit that Payne." That's a really quick way for me to become attached to a guy. So shout out to Campaign. It worked for me, and I bet it worked for millions of New Yorkers watching this game.
Yes, yeah, he did that to himself too. Yeah, anyone who yells at themselves and lets their inner monologue come out Yeah, it's a great trade.
Great
Anyway,
podcast, Gavin. Great podcast.
yeah, great podcast, Alex. All right, we did a good job, Alex. All right, yeah, maybe a little better next time, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, we don't have long to wait to try another podcast. The Knicks are facing the Clippers in second of a back-to-back, and then a pretty brutal schedule over their next three. They're going to be they end with a nice runway on Sunday, hopefully, when they return home. But they're going to have to play Clippers second game of a back-to-back, then at Milwaukee on Friday, and then back home versus Portland on Sunday. We'll have you covered for all those games and more coming up. But until next time, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.